Hello everyone and welcome to the fresh new Root YouTube channel. My name is Axeltoss and I'm here with Paulo Catz Viscara. Did I say it right? Did I say it?
That's right.
Really?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah. Paulo Catz Viscara.
Viscara.
Well, no one says.
Did I do it? No, don't make fun. Don't make fun.
Okay.
You know,
It's okay. No one can do it.
I'm of Hispanic descent, so I should be able to do the R rolling thing.
Oh, because you're Rodriguez.
Yes, I can't do that. Stop.
Rodriguez.
You're making me feel ashamed because I can't do that.
So you can't say your last
No,
name.
you're Rodriguez is what.
Nice.
No, like I literally spent 2 hours trying to figure out that thing with my tongue, but I can't do it. So
It's really tough. Drury has the same problem.
Yeah.
You know, I live with Drury.
yes.
So he has the same problem. He's Canadian. He knows how to do the French R. With the Spanish R, you need to put your tongue on top. And then with the French R, you like vibrate the back of your tongue, while with the Spanish R, you vibrate the front of your tongue.
Wow.
And with the English R, you're just lazy and don't do either of those.
Yeah, well, it's I think it's excusable for Juby considering he's not of Hispanic descent. I am. Like Rodriguez is my last name and I can't do it, so I kind of feel ashamed. But whatever. I'll get it one day. And let's talk about the game really quick. We have a is this a ladder game, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it's a ladder game.
What server do we got? Is it
Oh, this is North America. It's a Grandmaster level game.
All right, so this is going to be a ZVP on Daybreak. You're the Zerg player in the top right, and your Protoss opponent is EroSennin. And for those of you wondering what we're doing here, this is just kind of going to be a relaxed commentary analysis thing. This is our first time doing it, so we're not necessarily sure where this is going to go. And if you have any feedback, if you want to see something else, like this is going to be on the Root YouTube channel. It's going to be dedicated to Root players, exposing the players, getting some hardcore analysis, maybe put some funny stuff on there as well. So again, in the feedback, we're open to suggestions as far as how we're going to run this thing. But as of right now, we're just going to do some analysis here, and we see that you're opening with a hatchery at your natural. You have a drone going into your third base. So looks like you're going to go for a 3-hatch opening without a gas. Now,
or without a pool. Yeah.
Oh my god, you're doing this before a pool too. Okay, you're actually crazy. So, how crazy do you have to be How crazy do you have to be to actually do something like this?
I do this every game that they go for a Forge Fast Expand or a Nexus Burst. Yeah. That's the only indicator. So you can see like my alerts at his base, so I know that he did that. I'm not particularly scared of cannon rushes for the most part, but they do sometimes work. I'm not. I think it might actually work this game. I can't really remember, but for the most part, like on my natural, if my natural hatchery drops, I never really or rarely lose it to cannon rush. I feel like cannon rush is like, you know, Zerg versus cannon rush is my best matchup, my best win rate. You know, like this. So a couple days before this, actually, I played Huck. And he tried to cannon rush me twice and it failed twice, and then
you have a huge lead when a cannon rush fails, usually.
Yeah, exactly. So it's great. I like when after that, I still lost one of those games despite my lead, but you know, Huck's pretty good, and he was like, "Yeah, like you're pretty good at defending cannon rush." And I'm like, "Yeah, I hatch first every game after like if they go for a Forge Fast Expand." And he's like, "Yeah, every Zerg should, but they're just bad," is what he said. So,
yeah, I mean, what's the scariest thing you've come up against in doing this opening strategy? So if like I'm a Protoss player and I want to abuse this 3-hatch before pool, what should I do as a Protoss player?
I'm not quite sure. The thing is, it's pretty safe and it gives me a better economy than anything.
Yes.
So I mean, if you want to try to cannon rush me, that's a risk that we're basically both taking. But I'm confident that I've done this enough times that I should have the upper hand. You know, it's like you don't know the timings, you don't know what I'm doing. I do. So I feel like I always have the upper hand with this build, really, if they go for a Forge Fast Expand. Things that could bother me, for example, for instance, TT1 knows that I like to do this. So he'll just blatantly blind counter it and block both expansions with a pylon.
Oh.
And then if he does that, like if he, you know, like, because I usually send like 2 drones out, 1 to each expansion, but if he preemptively blocks them, which is something that no one else would do unless you know the build, then I'm completely screwed because, you know, I'm floating a lot of minerals there.
Yeah.
I can't drop a hatchery.
So what do you do in that situation? Do you you just wait till the pylons are dead, or do you drop a gas? Do you completely change?
I could drop double gas, or I could take a different hatchery, or just make a third macro hatch instead of an expansion.
Cool.
But that's definitely the best way to abuse this, I suppose.
Okay. And we see you just scouted the 2 gas at the natural expansion from your opponent. I think, yeah, he does have 3 guys in gas on each of those. What's your general overlord timing, and what are you looking for when you're poking that overlord in?
I'm just looking for the gases, really. I'm concerned to see if they're working on 2 gas or on 4 gas, because if they're working on 4 gas, I'm less concerned about making units early on. You see, I haven't dropped a Roach Warren yet this game. Whereas if they were working off of 2 gas, I would have dropped that Roach Warren at about 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, because
So
if they're not taking additional 2 gases, they're more implied to, or they're more likely to do that aggression that those 2-base timing pushes. But since he took those 2 gases natural, it's more likely he's teching up. Now you haven't really sacrificed an overlord just yet. Is there a particular reason for this, or is it coming a little bit later?
I'm still obviously working on this build quite a bit. But for the most part, I usually don't really sacrifice an overlord unless I absolutely need to. Let me see.
I see spores going down in your side of the...
Yeah, exactly. The build is safe against everything.
Okay.
Like, I know he's working for 4 gases and that he hasn't moved. So I'm assuming right now that he's either going for DTs or Stargate plate. This game is a complete misread, as you can see. He went for 4 gases, but he still went for a super aggressive build.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, this is looking scary. Okay, he has an Immortal on the way, too. I'm assuming those are going to march out on the field. You don't have Watchtower control, but I think you're getting that soon. You have Lings being sent out. I really want to see when you spot this and how you react. But at this point, it looks like you're going for that Infestation Pit. Burrow on the way. You have Speed completing. Now, let's look at your drone count, too. 69. So is 69 Harvesters, is that about where you want to be? Are you done making drones as for right now?
Yeah, I'm pretty much at base saturation at every base, and I'm mining all of my gases. So this is usually ideally when I start making units. But again, I'm assuming that it's not an aggressive build. I mean, I even have a Ling at his 3rd, expecting an expansion anytime soon. Right. But it was an aggressive build. Now this is obviously like a heavy Sentry Immortal push.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what he needed the gas for. So still, Infestors I feel like are the best way to deal with this. And I did make that Infestation Pit, I believe, but my Pathogen Glance was late, and now I have the worst possible composition against this. So I just kind of have to start making units right now, and I can't afford to make those Infestors, so my unit composition is going to be really weak against what he's doing.
Yeah, and how is this pretty much all in from him, or do you think if this fails, does he have an ability to transition into anything?
No, if this fails, he's done. He's not even trying to take a 3rd right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, if this fails, he's done. But my problem here is it's gonna be really hard for it to fail, to make it fail.
Yeah, I mean, we see all these force fields going down. You're doing a decent job, and you've got Spine Crawlers down there in time, but keeps reinforcing with more and more Stalkers. Passenger Glen's finally about to finish. Now, were you keeping an eye on that, or is there a reason you don't have any Infestors on the field just yet, or as far as like starting an Infestor, you're just focusing on the Lings and Roaches right now?
Yeah, if I start, if Infestors take a little bit to build, I'm assuming this is an all-in, so I really need to get as many units as I can. Now, after, like in retrospect, I think the best thing that I could have done is evacuate my 3rd back, made Infestors at my natural, and held that. But you know, like as you were saying, like I was doing a decent job at the start. That's how I felt too. I felt like, okay, it looks like I'm gonna be able to repel this, but 7 gates is a lot of gates, and then the next Warpins really just completely decimate me. So I make that decision to do what I just mentioned, but a little bit too late, right? So now I'm evacuating to my natural. Now I'm making the Infestors.
Yeah.
My hatchery position didn't help me either. It made a nice artificial choke for him to abuse. So now I'm doing what I should have done from the start, losing a bunch of Infestors there as well.
Yeah, ouch, that hurts. I'm sure it's hard to focus on actually correctly rallying your units, especially in situations like that. But we see 4 eggs being rallied over there, so nice job in that regard. Looks like you're thinking about counterattacking, and What do you suggest as far as this goes? You know, trying to fit a counterattack in. You know, trying to recognize, okay, do I actually need these units back home? What made you comfortable enough to feel that you could do a counterattack at this stage in the game, or is it just like, you know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
It's a little bit more of a desperation move than anything,
Okay.
really. I feel like I'm dying here.
Yeah.
So what I'm hoping to do with this counterattack is what the counterattack is doing, really, like putting on equal footing, you know? Now, the only problem I'm going to have is, even if it works, which it is,
Yes, it is. I would
at
agree.
the end of the fight, I'm not going to have an army. He's going to have a huge army.
Yeah, because you still have to be able to defend this push that's coming, or you're going to lose the game. But I guess the good news is here, he's not going to be able to reinforce as much. However, saying that, you just warped in 7 Zealots using that War Prism, and
Yeah.
this looks like it's going to be a quick game. What are you thinking at this point? What's going through your mind as these units are destroying your base?
I'm thinking I gotta make it happen with this counterattack somehow. I also killed this observer, I believe. Yeah, I believe I fungled it at some point, and the spore finished it off.
And you have burrow.
So that's yeah. So yeah, like burrowing my drones and escaping is my plan right now. Burrowing as many units, being as cost efficient as I can with those units, knowing that he doesn't have an observer. But yeah, I mean, I'm basically thinking I shouldn't be able to win this, and
I would agree. I think I
Yeah.
would agree with that. No offense. But he has a pretty large force still on your side of the map. And it looks like your units are still doing some damage to him. He doesn't have a sentry protecting his main, and you have yet to go into his main. Is there a reason for that, or you just didn't do it yet?
just sloppy.
Right.
I was doing other stuff, like I'm trying to get infestors, rally them. I'm thinking of the later stages rather than this. I also, for some reason, thought he would be mined out of his base by now, of his main by now, which is just, you know, just not really thinking about the things that I should have been thinking at this point in time. You know, like obviously, like I did a good job of saving a bunch of drones, making 2 more infestors and saving them. So my priorities weren't completely off, but I wish my mechanics had been a little bit better to, you know, do what I had to do and kill him a little bit quicker.
Okay. And we see EroSennin scrambling around the map. Looks like he's making a base in the bottom right. Have you scouted that yet? No, you've not. I feel like he probably thinks he's in a good situation, and I would too. As a Protoss player in this situation, what should the Protoss player be focusing on right now?
It depends on whether he feels he's ahead on or behind on in harvesters.
Right.
So I feel like what he's doing is fine. He's kind of just sitting back and you know, protecting his base. Now, what I feel like he should be prioritizing right now is getting an observer out, because burrow is the only thing that I have on him.
Yeah, and he definitely knows you have it. Is there a robo anywhere? No, I think he's getting a cybercore down at the moment. So yeah, I guess we'll have to wait on that. But you know, it's cool seeing you utilize this burrow play, and of course it's taking him off guard a little bit. He has a warp prism going to the top right to scout you out, and now you're mining from 2 different locations. And does he necessarily know that? No. Now it feels like it might be impossible to defend both these bases against his attack. Maybe even one of them. I'm assuming you took these 2 hatcheries on different sides of the map for a reason. Are you pretty much, you know, accepting the fact that you're probably going to lose one of them, so you're going to spread them out as far as possible?
Yes, absolutely. I actually took 3 bunches of drones at the start, I believe. So I wanted to have 3 possible locations where I could expand. Because I recognized that I had a lot of drones, right? I have a lot of like capacity to harvest stuff, but yeah, I mean, I know that I'm gonna lose one of these. I'm just trying to get the most out of it. And again, he still doesn't have an observer, so I'll probably try and burrow those infestors, run them out. Those drones are never gonna escape.
Right.
I felt like, so I just kind of mined as much as I could.
Yeah, and you have a pretty nice bank here with 1,000 minerals, at least compared to your opponent. He's at 400 minerals and 93 gas. He still hasn't scouted your top
Do
left.
you see his base?
Yeah.
I almost killed it.
Oh
with
wow!
less turns.
Oh my god! You're like.
So if I could have done that, that would have been epic. But of course that didn't work out.
I feel like you're gonna send a task force in there. Well, oh, there's 2 Marines. The probes trying to attack, and you're targeting down the Nexus, but it will stay alive. I'm assuming you're going to go after that a little bit later. Meanwhile, you're dropping a billion spines at your last remaining base. So, game plan from here on out, are you looking to... When are you going to look to be aggressive, or are you going to look to just stay defensive until you get more bases on the field?
I'm well aware of the amount of drones that he has. It looks like we're pretty much on equal footing.
Wow, 7 to 6.
As far as harvesters go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what I did there was spend all of my money in static defense. So he basically, that base is unbreakable with 4 infestors nearly with full energy and that many spines.
Yep.
He shouldn't even try to kill it. So since I have Burrow too, I can spot the robotics facility, I can spot his timings and
nice fungal.
what he's doing up until he gets an observer. So right now, what I was trying to do is, yeah, I was hoping that he would attack me. Oh, lost
Ouch.
2 infestors there, that was not good. But I was hoping that he would attack me, and then I would go counter and kill his base, hold the attack, and win the game. But he actually was smarter than that, and he didn't. He just sat back at his base.
Yeah, and he did get that robo on the field, and now kind of boosting that observer because he knows... Actually, your infestors... Are they dead, or did you move them out?
They ran away.
Okay.
They're heading back home.
Cool.
So yeah, as soon as the row was up, I started moving those.
So now we're in a pretty wonky situation where I don't think these aren't starting spawns on Daybreak, even though if an outsider looking in might think they might be, considering your main base is in the top left and his is in the bottom right. And he has a pretty scary army. I think he's well ahead of you in army supply. Yeah, 61 to 23 there. So it looks like he's going for a robotics bay. Now, are you kind of anticipating this robotics bay switch, considering you know that he knows about your infestors and Colossi are generally a good choice, and also he kind of knows about your spine crawler defense. Colossi also good against that. So do you know about this, and is it in the back of your mind that, okay, I have to deal with these Colossi pretty soon?
Yeah, it's I am assuming that he has to go for Colossi. Like, I'm thinking, okay, Colossus is the only thing that can break this.
Yes.
So that is why, I don't know if you noticed, my drone count was rather low, but I still started, like, and my economy was low after dropping those spines to be safe. But I started mining double gas, and now I'm taking 2 alerts. So, yeah, getting Aspire and Corruptors is my main priority right now. I feel like against any ground army, lower than maybe a 130 supply army or 130 supply Protoss, I should be relatively safe with my defense here. So yeah, I'm anticipating Colossus for sure, and yeah, I'm gonna be working to get Aspire here pretty soon.
Now, this certainly is a very unique situation. I'm sure you've been in the situation. Maybe how many times do you think? Are you in the situation a lot where something crazy like this happens?
Yeah, not 2 of them are the same though.
Right.
They're all really different.
So how do you practice for a situation like this? Is there even a way to?
You don't.
Yeah.
No, I feel like that's one of my strengths as a player, is I am a very reactive and adaptive player. So I for the most part played by ear. I think that Zerg is a really reactive race. Of course, I have build orders and stuff like that, but for the most part, I try to react as much as I can to my opponent. So I actually like getting in this sort of situation. Like, obviously, I'm playing from work way behind. I was almost at half his supply. Sure. But for the most part, this is my comfort zone. I feel like, if we're both scrambling and we're both like, I don't know what to do, I'm like, yeah,
I know exactly.
I think I can figure it out. Yeah. So yeah, like, as you can see, like if you look at, he's gonna take a base, and I have Burrowed Baneling in the only base that I thought he might be taking next. So stuff like that, like I try to anticipate what, like, his next move, right? And even in a scrappy situation like this, like, there's no rule book for this. There's no, okay, what base, what's my natural?
It's not like there's a build order for this either. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I feel like maybe a lot of players are tied to their build orders and tied to the game, going in a certain direction. And when something like this happens, it's harder for players to adjust because, hey, I mean, let's be honest, they're not in that situation a lot of the time. So yeah, it's cool to see.
For instance, there was a game I recall on MLG.
Okay.
It was Hydra against MC on Tal'Darim, right? And MC pylon walled Hydra inside his base.
And Hydra GG'd?
Rushed this Expo. And Hydra GG'd.
Well,
it was pretty funny because I actually counted from, like, I did a 10 to 0 countdown, and when I got to 0, he GG'd. Everyone around me was like laughing like crazy. But that kind of situation I actually like getting into, because when they do stuff like that, it's like what do you do in return? Like, they can't really scout you ever when they wall themselves out like that, right? Like, there's waste, but it's a little bit of a waste of money. So like,
Nice fun.
I rely on that sort of stuff. Drop double gas. I do unexpected stuff, but not really stuff that it's. I don't know. It's really hard to explain.
Yeah, no, I kind of understand what you're saying. Unorthodox stuff that people don't normally see, and then we're in a situation where the Protoss player is like, okay, why isn't he left yet? Uh-oh, I actually have to play this game out.
Yeah, and work with what you have. For example, like if I drop double gas and then I scout that he hasn't dropped a Cybercore, that it's late, I'll drop a Spire, and if not, I'll go for Ling Infestor, or there's just so many options, or Roach Burrow, or like a Proxy Hatch. Like, depending on what they're doing, I do different things. So I never see it as a major risk,
right?
Or something that can be easily blind countered.
Cool. So we see EroSennin finally. I think he cleaned up your Ling that was at his third originally in this game, but now it's his natural, I guess. So he's getting an extra base down, and now we're getting to a healthy infestor count. You're taking 2 additional bases now. Both of these bases can be very hard to defend. As far as your Spinecrawler defense, at what point do you pick these up, move them around, and start trying to put them in front of these additional bases? Oh, I guess you're starting to do that right now. But what goes into your decision? Okay, put these Spinecrawlers here, put these Spinecrawlers here, because obviously if you put like two less Spinecrawlers somewhere, it's not gonna work out for you. So what goes into your decision on, okay, where should I focus my defensive Spinecrawlers to be?
Well, my other base is gonna mine faster, so I don't care too much to defend it for much longer.
Good point.
Also, he assumes that all of my spines are there, because if you check his vision, that's what he should see. So in his mind, that's where my spines are. So it's less likely that he'll try attacking onto that. So I transferred most of my spines and the corruptors to the other base. So again, if he checks his vision, he's gonna see, 20 spines in the other base.
Yep.
The reason I took 2 bases really far apart from each other is what I've been going off of this entire game. It's like his army supply is bigger, and I know that. So if he attacks one base, I can comfortably start defending the other one, because there's on such opposite sides, right?
Yeah.
So the other hatchery is kind of like, okay, if I can take it, then great. If I can't take it, I won't. And say that hatchery had gone up, I would have probably made 5-6 drones, but I would have never really focused too much on defending it.
Sure.
So it's
kind of like taking a gold early on. If it gets up, great. If it doesn't, then you have some drones there that you can transfer back home, and it's not too huge of a loss. But at this point in the game, it's kind of weird to think about the costs and benefits and stuff of additional bases like that. But we see you slowly proceeding to the bottom left, taking additional spines, going up to Hive. So are you already thinking Broodlords at this point, I'm assuming?
Yeah. Right now, I'm thinking, okay, if I can establish this other base that I'm taking right now with spines, the infestors, I'll be pretty much invincible, right? Like, this is a very choky map.
Yes.
So fungal growth is so very good, and all of my infestors are full energy. So as soon as I get creep up there, as you can see, I'll start transferring those spines, and I feel like I'm gonna be safe for the most part. So I obviously can't really move out or anything like that, because my army is 9 infestors. But at the same time, and as stupid as that sounds, I'm completely safe with that. So
yeah, it makes sense, because it feels like to engage your side of the map, he has to deal with a choke somewhere, and it looks like that's where you're putting your Spinecrawlers, and of course you're going to have your infestors there to I guess fungal field, the entrance to whatever locations he's trying to break. He has an observer checking out what you're doing, and I guess we're kind of getting to that point where you're going to be starting to build that infestor broodlord composition. And this is the composition that a lot of Protoss players have been having difficulty dealing with. So if you could give a tip to a Protoss player on how to deal with the infestor broodlord composition, what would you say is the best way to do it?
Most players rely on stuff like, let's watch this. So yeah, like as you can see, like he can't really go up the ramp ever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was mentioning before. There's a bunch of spine crawlers there, and you can just fungal. And guess what? Your spine crawler is going to have a great concave on his army. And I think that'd be pretty much suicide for him.
Yeah. But, most of the Protoss players, what they'll do is they'll go for, our Archon standard composition, add Archons, get the mothership out, and try to get a good Archon toilet.
Yes.
I find that is a good response, but I feel like it's, for the most part, there are fairly unexplored options to deal with that composition. Not a lot of Protoss players, for instance, go for big counterattacks, despite the immobility of a Broodlord Infestor army.
Sure.
And not many, if not to say any players, go for carriers. I know that sounds a little bit ridiculous,
no,
but
I get what you're saying. I've thought about that too. It seems like an air transition in the late game might be a good thing.
yeah, exactly. Perhaps like right now he has this army.
Yeah.
I feel like that's fine. But if the map is split, if you're floating minerals, like a lot of, like a lot of situations, a lot of these situations end up being like that, right? Where you're both floating 6K, 6K. Then I think that an air transition, when you have the bank to do it, is definitely the best way.
Okay, I have a question about that. So, actually getting the carriers out, obviously you're going to have supply issues. What's the best units to trade as a Protoss player when you're trying to get those carriers on the field? And what do you think is the best way to go about doing that? Like sacrificing 6 Stalkers at a time to try to target down some Infestors or Broodlords, setting Zealot counterattacks, maybe using a War Prism somewhere. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that Blink Stalkers are fantastic for that.
Okay.
I think that a Protoss player, when trading, should be safe back at their base. So hopefully have some High Templars or Colossus, hugging cannons and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I think everything else is expandable. Just like I can turtle with Zerg on Spines and Infestors, I feel that Protoss can also turtle with a lot of cannons and yeah. So something like that. Obviously, I'm not a Protoss player. I think that depending on the game and what the Zerg has as well, and their position in the map, if they're being defensive or if they're being, like for example this game, right? I don't really want to move out because I don't really want to move out until I'm maxed, because I feel like he should have been ahead this entire game, and the only time I should be able to beat him is in a maxed versus maxed fight.
Yes. With your Infestor Broodlord composition with Spine Crawlers buffering below, or yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, in this particular game, I think that the Protoss could have gone for a much earlier air switch. He is actually doing that.
Yeah.
For them, like if you see that he added a lot of Stargates and a fleet beacon. I think that's fantastic. But he was a little bit slow in taking most of his bases.
I agree.
So like if I'm contained and I can't really move, and you have like a huge army supply lead, then you should focus on your economy first. And once you're I feel like he could have gotten to this point a lot earlier, and then a carrier transition would have been the best thing ever.
Yeah, it seemed like he might have been trying to focus on that timing. We saw him try to push towards your Spine Crawler and your Infestor army. It seemed like he was trying to focus on the timing at that point in time, and then realized, oh shit, I can't break him now. And then he decided to back up and focus more on his economy, and then transition into the airplay. So at this point in time, do you have any idea about the airplay transition from him?
No, not at all.
Do you have it like in the back of your mind, like, okay, maybe he can do this, or maybe he will do this?
No, just because no one does it though.
Right.
Like it would be on the back of my mind. I would be super worried about it. I'd be like, oh crap, like I'm just gonna lose this game if I knew that more players would be willing to do this in scenarios like this. For example, if I was playing Kiwi Kaki,
right?
Like before he went inactive or whatever.
Sure.
He's one of the only Protosses that when I split the map, when I'm safe, when I'm transitioning to a quote-unquote invincible army, he'll just get his own more invincible army, which is carriers, and just destroy everything, right? Carrier storm, like mothership,
That's
like
terrifying.
It is terrifying. People are like, oh, corruptors are so good against carriers. In small numbers, yes, but fully upgraded carriers destroy corruptors. Yeah. Especially if you have a storm as backup and stuff like that, as corruptors clamp a lot. And obviously, when you're going for an army like this, for your Broodlords to be effective, they need to be...
You still have no idea.
There needs to be a lot of them. No, absolutely no idea.
Okay, well, this should be interesting. Let's see, how many carriers does he have? Okay, he has 4 on the way. So is there a particular reason you haven't been sending overseers across the map, or is this just something that, you know, looking back, you maybe should have done, or what?
Well, I just had one. I just made my second one.
Yeah.
Really, I've been worried this entire game
About an offensive from him.
Yeah, like as you can see, like I'm not floating a lot of money, and I just got maxed. So I've really just been trying to be as safe as possible, I suppose. But in retrospect, like I didn't even think of that as a flaw. But I like now that you mentioned it, I think it's something that I should have definitely done more of the second overseer earlier and just check out what he has. But for the most part, most Protoss players will do like exactly the same thing. So I was rather, it was a pleasant surprise when I saw the carriers. But fortunately, I attack when as soon as I get maxed, pretty much, and he only has 3 out. So.
All right. So when you see these carriers, are you looking for the neural parasite, or just the fungals, just the infested Terrans, or I don't see too many corruptors in your composition? Oh, they're coming forward and going to target down the mothership. No, what are you looking to do with this engagement as far as, you know, using your units? Are you target firing anything particular? Are you reserving your infestors for anything special? Like, what's your target fire like with your corruptors? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I want to take down the mothership. As you can see, I almost did. But for the most part, I'll just use fungals if he tries to move forward and take down my Bridlords.
Oh.
And yeah, that was a good vortex, but a little bit late. And now, like everything else, like is like all of my production right now is corruptors,
yes.
right? So I've been trading units, but anything that I'm remaking is corruptors to deal with the carriers, because I know that the Bridlords are gonna be able to deal with everything else on their own. So yeah, as far as the infestors go, as you can see, they still have a lot of energy, and I didn't feel like I needed to waste that unless I had to. You know, like say I had dropped all of my infested turns at the same time.
Right.
Well, then I wouldn't have anything left to deal with the carriers if they inched forward right now.
Sure, and now we see you're using that energy. Throwing him down at this expansion at the middle right, taking down a Nexus, probably going to take down a lot of those stalkers too. So your corruptors are coming forward. We see taking down his ground, I guess his production facilities. At this point, do you feel like you've won?
Yeah, pretty much.
What precautions are you taking at this moment, just to make absolute sure that this is in your hands?
Well, the main focus was those Stargates.
Yeah. So
I was happy to see that they were up in the front there. So as soon as I started taking care of those, I knew that my army was pretty much invincible as soon as I could take care of those 3 carriers,
cool.
You know?
Yeah, I hear you. Good game. There's the GG. Well played, sir. That was quite entertaining and quite a wonky 45 minutes of StarCraft 2. But yeah, thanks for talking with me about this game. Again, people watching, give us feedback. Let us know what you want to see. Of course, we're going to cater this channel to the audience. So whatever you want to see, we'll try to make it happen. Once again, thank you so much for joining me, Catz. Do you have any thoughts, any final words, any final suggestions, anything else you want to say?
Nothing. I'm just really happy that you're with us now, and I'm really happy to have you on board. You're a great caster, and I have a lot of admiration for you. So thank you for that. And please, guys, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, continue to follow and support Root.
All right, thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much again for watching. This has been a pseudo cast with me and Catz, like kind of an analysis style. And of course, there are many more options out there. We could pull up a random replay and just straight up cast it. We can keep taking replays from the players and just do really deep analysis like we did in this one. So again, please let us know. But that's going to do it for this video. Please check out all Root stuff, root-gaming.com. That's a website, correct? Catz, is that
correct?
Okay, yeah, check that out, and of course the Twitters and you know, streams of all of the personalities involved with Root. So see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.